Welcome to the Belly to Belly podcast, where we explore in-person business-to-business marketing. This episode is brought to you by Meet, the company that helps international companies exhibit at U.S. trade shows. Check them out at meetroi.com.
This is the perfect segue to sort of our last topic area, which is metrics. So, this is all wonderful, but how do we know what's working and what isn't, and how do we sort of set up, because measurement is hard. Measurement is really hard, and being consistent with it, and also. Not just in the measurement, but also the analysis, because that's part and parcel. So maybe walk us through that module a bit and tell us, what are the best practices today?
Yeah. So again, thanks for that sort of duality. There's the actual capturing of the data and the analysis, and they're two very different skill sets. And again, who's ever handling your digital marketing today should have a very, very deep understanding of what it is, especially if they went through the exercise of what is important to you, what does success look like to you. They should be able to show you that at the end. So capturing the data, there's Google Analytics. If you have, it's free. You just go to google.com/analytics, sign up for a free account. There's also Tag Manager, and there's a whole bunch of other things that you can do beyond that, depending on how sophisticated you want to be. Again, if your in-house digital marketing person is doing it, then they got to do some research and figure out these tools. To you, it's sort of sunk cost as a business owner because they're there and they're working, and this is part of what you expect from them. If you're outsourcing it, your digital marketing agency should be able, before you even hire them, to demonstrate that they have a deep, thorough understanding of A, the pieces, and B, the analysis. Certain firms, I know we have our own dashboard. If you've ever logged into a Google AdWords account, it makes most people's brains leak out their ears. It's incredibly complex. And there's thousands of links and even more data, and helping you sort through. So we built our own dashboard, which goes right into their API. So it's still their numbers, but it gives them to you in how many times we showed your ad, how many times people clicked on it, how many times they clicked on it and filled out a form or picked up the phone and called you. There's call tracking, there's extended call tracking, which will actually record the call, and there's just so much available. Also, any of the marketing automation tool sets that I mentioned before. Again, we know HubSpot best, so I'll use that as the example. The tracking of we actually have clients we've been doing this so long for that we know for every 10 blog articles we get 6 visits. For every 6 visits we get 3 form fills. You want 6 form fills, write 20 blog articles, right? You just double up on all of that data's there. People are often shocked when we start doing the analysis. Well, we're doing blogs and nothing's happening. And then you go into the data set and look at every page that has driven traffic to your website. And in one case, 64% of all of their web traffic was coming from their blog articles. And they had no idea. No idea. So again, okay, that's great. Now, how do we take that and turn that into something more meaningful? No, people just find us on the web. Well, how are they finding you? Let's do more blog articles. Let's now add the pieces of the metrics that can be measured and turned into something meaningful.
Well, I suppose then you're also looking at 64% of the traffic's coming from blog articles, and then what happens from that traffic? Are they whether they're purchasing or whether they're setting appointments or whatever the next step is, I suppose.
Yeah. So in their case, because they didn't understand the value of what they had no offers at the end of their blog articles. They had no call today for a free appointment, click here to fill out a form for a no obligation, whatever. Didn't have any of that in place at the end of any of their blog articles. Leave a comment. That's what they had. This is what percentage we're leaving comments, right?
No
People were
conversion.
busy. They got their information. Now, in some cases, people were going, okay, this is a company I want to talk to, and they just picked up the phone and called them. But there was no way to tie that phone call into the fact that they just read a blog article.
Right.
We now do that. We have another scenario where there's cross-device analytics. So we had a company who was spending a lot of money on the weekends on Google AdWords, being told by a competitor of ours, you're spending way too much money on the weekends. Nobody's buying on the weekends. All your sales are coming during the week. But because we had cross-browser, cross-device analysis, we were able to show them that 70% of your visitors on Monday found you over the weekend. They didn't do any work, right? They just found you. They read a little bit. Then they came in on Monday or Tuesday and made a follow-up call or went back to the website. So turning those ads off, by the way, here's the beauty of it. You don't believe us? Turn it off. See what happens next Monday. When your sales Monday drops 60% like that, you'll know that. And they actually said, great, try it. Let's see what happens. So you can test it, right? It's more of that A/B testing.
Mm-hmm.
They begged us to turn it on as quickly as possible. That's,
right.
It's a real world scenario.
Right. No, and it's good. The beautiful thing about it is you can actually, what's the old adage? We know that 50% of our marketing dollars are wasted. We just don't know which 50%.
Yeah.
In what you're talking about, you can actually begin removing a lot of that error, those wasted resources, and reapply them in a place where they're going to be much better applied. So that's all good.
We also found 60 to 70%. And again, these are not my numbers. You can Google them. 60 to 70% of an in-house marketing's ad budget, paid ad budget, is wasted.
It's amazing.
They just don't have the resources to check 50 times a day and see what their competitors are doing.
So a quick follow-up question
Yep.
in this area of metrics, and we talked about sort of, it's great to have the metrics, but how about the analysis? So how often, whether it's the timing that you're normally getting together with clients, or how often would you suggest the team, if you will, the marketing team, sit down and review these analytics and make action? Because it seems like this is something that needs to be on the calendar as a recurring event. So how often?
So again, it's a really simple question with a really complex answer. Number one, it depends what you do. If you're a local, hyper-local plumber servicing 3 towns, you probably don't need to meet very often. Keep in mind that you, as the end customer, whatever it is you're selling or service you're providing, will have access to these analytics 24/7. It's your Google account. It's your paid search account. It's your dashboard. It's your whatever it is. It's your a HubSpot account. You're going to be able to log in and check the data whenever you want. So you should not be held hostage by your agency. For many customers, and again, it depends on business cycles. We have customers who, they do landscaping in the summer and they do snowplow removal back when we had snow. So in the winter. So you're going to have times of the year where it's a little more frequent. But I would say at a minimum, you want to do a monthly review. Right. And in the beginning, when you're setting all this up, you're going to have a lot of frequent touch points and reviews and processes. Once it gets going, I tell most people, so again, organic search, you're going to have a 30-day review and then you're going to get a quarterly report. And we're going to do a deep dive in that quarterly report because organic SEO takes a while to actually track and measure. Google has to do stuff. You have to wait for it. So that's paid search. You're going to check daily and see what's going on. In the beginning, you're going to have, the setup, the deployment, a lot of touching, then you're probably going to go to a week or every 2 weeks. And then by month 3, you're doing a month of review.
Right. So,
also, you should find agents paid search, if you're going to outsource it, who don't have a long-term contract. It doesn't work for everybody. It just doesn't. Works for most, and if your agency's strong, they're going to be able to prove it. But you don't want to get locked into a 1, 2, or 3 year contract for something that isn't working, that doesn't help anybody. And that we see that a lot. People come to us and they're, it's been a year, we haven't seen a single lead. And my first question is, why did you wait a year? Well, we signed a contract, we did this. Now I'm going to be able to prove to you regardless, organic, paid, Facebook, 90 days, 3 months. I'm going to be able to prove to you this is working. If you're not happy on day 91, pull the plug, you're free to go. It's important to understand, you don't need to get locked in.
Cool. No, that's awesome.
Content marketing's different.
Yep.
And that's a 2 to 3 year play.
Right. Yeah. More strategic than transactional.
Huge.
Yeah. Wow, this has been a ton of information, really, really good information. Any sort of final words of wisdom that you'd want to make sure, again, specifically that international B2B market entry company would, as you sort of think broadly about all these digital tools, and certainly what you've been evangelizing is the idea of integrating these tools in a meaningful way, almost as opposed to having a beautiful instrument, really having a beautiful concert or a beautiful band. Yeah.
Well put.
Yeah. Any final words of wisdom on the topic?
I think, number one, whoever you choose as a provider, again, whether it's in-house and you're hiring people or you're outsourcing, you have to make sure they have a proven track record and can show you their dashboard, show you this is how we measure, understand what you're getting at the end, right? And that's number one. Number two, you really have to be committed to this, and you have to keep an open mind. It's really important. We see a lot of people who sort of attempt it with half measures. And then they say, well, we tried digital marketing. It didn't really work for us. Well, let me take a look at what you did. And we find out they didn't really commit. You have to commit. You couldn't run, in the old days, you couldn't run a yellow page ad, every other month, right? You were in or you were out. You had the biggest ad or you had the smallest ad, or you had something in between. And it either worked for you or it didn't. And people now, it's really interesting. Again, maybe not so much for the foreign market, but I guess it translates pretty well that people would actually say, wow, this seems really expensive to me now because they're going to spend $4,000 a month or whatever it is we think they should spend based on what their competitors are spending. And $4,000 a month, what did you use to spend on yellow page ads? Oh, that was $8,000 a month. We had the biggest ad and it's gone. It's not producing for you anymore. It's actually less expensive and you're getting trackability, which you could never get. So it's really changing that mindset. Stop looking at marketing as an expense and look at it as a profit center. And you'll be fine. Cool.
Awesome. So I would imagine there'll be folks who hear this who would love to have a conversation with you, talk a little bit more about ImageWorks and what you're doing to help international market entry companies. What's the best way for folks to get a hold of you?
So the phone still works, right? 860-454-0582. Also, always www.imageworksllc.com. That's www.imageworksllc.com. And you can also email me, JCohen, JCohen, @imageworksllc.com. And then there's LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. We're on all those channels as well.
Sounds good. And yeah, with the phone number +1 before the phone number for international folks, are you on WhatsApp as well?
Not the way you're asking, but yes.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, thank you very much. This has been wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you on all the podcast platforms and YouTube and in our blog as well. So thank you, everybody. We'll talk to you all real soon.
Thank you for joining us on today's podcast. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or we can be of any service. Like us if you'd like to stay in the know on current episodes.